So let's talk about the leg lowers to start. So we work in a progression, right? So we foam roll, you can foam roll the hamstrings, you can stretch the hamstrings, and then after we stretch and perform mobility exercise, what would be the mobility exercise for the hamstring? We talked about you can stretch the hamstring. What are the stretches for the hamstring we talked about? The box hamstring and the doorway. Okay, so what was the mobility exercise for the hamstring that we did? The single leg reach. The motor control exercise, see how we're progressing? Then we're going to single leg strength. Once we get it past motor control dynamic warm up, then we get into strength and power. And then we'll talk about how this leads up. So if somebody can't perform a single leg hamstring exercise, then we would regress them, right? To like a motor control exercise or a mobility exercise. So it's important to have tools in your tool bag. What am I going to do with this client if they can't do the single leg deadlift? Well, maybe it's a supported single leg deadlift with a wall, or maybe you're regressing them with the leg lower. So for leg lowers, there's assisted and unassisted. So assisted leg lowers, you lay down on your back, okay? 1 foot over the pelvis, bend the knee, wrap the band around the arch, extend the knee, the bottom leg, the toe is pointed up in the bottom leg. So I don't want this leg out. So I want internal rotation of that hip, not external rotation. From here, head is down. I'm going to pull the bands and elbows back so it's stable. I'm going to go up, meet the foot, take an inhale, and then exhale on the way down. Focus on pierce lips, 5 reps on each side. And then as I lower, I exhale. I exhale, pierce lips to engage the transverse abdominis. The diaphragm gets engaged. The obliques get involved. The core gets involved when you're exhaling, okay? So as you come down, it gets harder and you're stiffening up. So that would be the supported leg lower. The unsupported leg lower, so after you've mastered that, hands are down, feet are together, head is down. Exhale. Now it's not this, okay? It's, and the longer you exhale and the longer it goes down, the harder obviously it's going to be on the core, okay? And then, so we're working on hamstring mobility here and also core. So motor control is always going to involve one stabilizing element and one moving element. So that's where motor control is a little bit different. You have stability and mobility, right? Stability of the core. Okay, that's one side obviously, and then the other side, exhale on the way down. Very controlled. And I don't cue the inhale, because if I say inhale, if I go, it's just too much. If you just focus on the exhale, you're going to naturally inhale. It's going to be a natural recoil. That's what they teach in Pilates as well. So you're trying to wring out the lungs there. Okay? Once you've done the leg lowers, progression can be your dead bug. Okay? Knees 90 degrees over the hips, arms in front of the chest. Hold here. And then you can just do one at a time. You can alternate. Then you can do the opposite reach. Then, does anybody want to demo this next core exercise with me? Who wants to demo with me? Come on. Who wants to do it? All right, Brooke, come on. So this one, this involves a partner. So you're going to get in that dead bug position on your back. Okay, is it okay if I push into your limbs a little bit? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create unnecessary instability. So get in that dead bug position. Good. Knees a little bit wider, right there. Pretend like, right there. Arms in front of the chest. And from here, what I can do is don't let me push your legs. or your arms. Okay, and then I can go over here. Okay, I can do both. Okay, and so she's trying to be stable while I'm putting in external resistance. All right, clap that for both. Okay, so you can do that as a variation. You can almost like try to pull the arm away from the limb, and so you have to get real stiff in the core. So that's a good cooperative motor control exercise you can perform. Floor slide or wall slide. I'll show you both. All right, so the floor slide is like our diaphragmatic breathing exercise, which is also motor control, because you're trying to really focus on mobility and stability. So from here, we want to posterior pelvic tilt, so we don't want too much space here. Flatten it out by squeezing the glutes. From here, we're going to externally rotate the shoulders and make a W with our arms. From here, you're going to take an inhale through the nose, allow those elbows to come all the way down. And as you exhale, you're going to reach overhead and slide your arms overhead. When you exhale, you're trying to let the ribs go down and in. You're almost like pretend that your core is like a saran wrap. You're trying to saran wrap your core when you exhale. So it's an inhale on the way down, and then exhale overhead. Inhale on the way down, exhale overhead. And you might see someone's arms or wrists that can't touch the ground. It means they might lack a little external rotation of the shoulder here. So here where core is stable, now we're moving the upper body only instead of the lower body. So these are called shoulder slides, they're called floor slides. And then you also have wall slides. So sitting cross-leg against the wall, make it a little bit harder. Same thing, really stretches out the front of your chest. Inhale, flat back, head against the wall, and then exhale. Inhale down, and exhale overhead. Okay, does anybody with tight shoulders want to try that? See how that feels? Are you good? Pretty good? You can try it after class if you want. So the hip lift, there's a double leg hip lift, single leg hip lift, and then there's the psoas activation hip lift, okay? So those would be the progressions. So double leg hip lift, okay? Knees are bent, toes are up. So they teach it with the toes up. And then from here, head is down, palms face down next to the sides. And then all we're doing is just contracting and squeezing the glutes and holding. We want to make sure that we're not doing this with our back. So this would be a bridge in yoga. Ready? This is how I would bridge in yoga. I would extend my back, get my shoulders underneath, and pin my shoulders back. And then it's like, feels good. For this one, it's all about getting the shoulders in line with the knees, straight line, squeezing the glutes. So we're looking for full hip extension, right? Hip extension, glutes, hamstrings. This is when we're getting into our hip dominant stuff. So like a kettlebell swing, a horizontal jump, a vertical jump. Everything is going to be hip extension. Squatting, okay, hip extension. Deadlifting, hip extension. That's all glute. So to activate motor control for the glute, hold here. 5 to 10 seconds, come down and then switch. So it's a 5 to 10 second hold, 3 reps, okay? For the single leg, it's a progression. Toes are up. You're gonna pin the knee to the chest. Go down, up, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down, up, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. And so that's gonna be 3 reps, 5-second hold each side for the one leg hip lift. Okay, it's not 20 seconds, not 30 seconds, it's very specific. It's not just a random amount either, okay? It's just, you're activating. Things shouldn't take 30 minutes. It should be quick, right? So hold, and you're either gonna do one or the other. You might do a couple of these as a warm up, and then boom, you do maybe 2 or 3 5-second holds, okay? 3 max, 1 minimum. Then the psoas activation, one leg hip lift. This is when I'm gonna pin the knee just like I did to the chest. A lot of times people will kind of fake hip flexion, so they'll go like this, but they won't go like this because it's harder. It's harder to squeeze this glute when this hip is flexed. And it's even harder when my hand is pushing into it. So this is called the psoas activation, one leg hip lift. They call it, for short, Cook hip lift, because that's who made it up. So basically I'm activating my hip flexor in one hip and I'm activating my glute in the other hip. So it's a lot of bang for your buck. One hip flexor gets activated, glute on the other side gets activated, and core here. So it's, I push into the knee, drive the knee to the chest, and then I lift up and hold 5 seconds. And I have to get my breath because it's a lot tougher if I do it right. And then again, Pierce lips out the mouth. Okay, that I might do for 5 to 10 second holds, 1 to 3 reps. That's the Cook hip lift. Okay, prone, supine, or kneeling hip flexion. Okay, so the prone hip flexion. Is there any mini bands in here? You see any? All I see are these types of bands, so maybe this will have to do. So you know those mini circle bands? So for the prone hip flexion, you can use a slider as well. So have you ever seen a slide board before? So you put your foot on a slide board, only one, you drag it up, hold, and then you drag it down. And so we're working on hip flexion and activation of the core. So again, one unit is stable and one part of the body, the peripherals, are usually going to be moving. So the core is stable and either the arms or legs are moving for motor control. Okay, some are isometric like the hip Cook lift. All right, so here, slide up if you're on a slider, come down, just like that. It's not a mountain climber, which is more of a high intensity shoulder burn. Not really sure why people are still doing it, but it's definitely hard, so I get it. Hard things, people like to do hard things. So for the prone hip flexion, you put your foot around a band, both feet. I'm not sure this will work with this tight of a band. It's going to be very hard. But what I'm going to do is from here, get in the push-up position with the band around the ankles. And then from here, hands under the shoulders. I'm going to flex the hip or bring the knee toward the chest. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then switch, and you're doing 1 to 3 reps. What am I activating here? Hip flexors, major. You can do that prone, which I just showed you. You can also do that supine. So basically the same thing, just like this, but this band is way too thick. You want one of those nice thin ones. But this one, this would definitely be more advanced. So major hip flexor. And what's the one quad muscle that also assists in hip flexion? Get extra credit if you know. The rectus femoris also assists in hip flexion. Okay? So there's your prone and supine hip flexion. The half kneeling hip flexion would be another level up. So this one, I need to find one of those mini bands. So this one, you get in the half kneeling position, and what you do is you lift up the front leg over a box and hold for about 5 seconds. So I'm pushing into the ground. Is this an active isolated stretch? Or is this a PNF stretch when I lift up? Active isolated. If I push down here, that's PNF. If I lift up, that's active isolated. So I could do some PALS contractions, push down 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then lift up if I want to do some active stretching. This is the half kneeling hip flexor. So what I would say is for advanced, half kneeling position, hold on to dowels, place the foot on a box, lift up, hold 5 seconds, repeat 1 to 3 times. So it's not repeat 100 times, it's just to get a little bit of activation in the hip flexor there for advanced athletes. So someone that was just beginning, I might just have them do the Cook hip lift, or I might have them do the prone hip flexion with the sliders, and then I'll progress them to the banded versions, and then maybe finally to this. So that's how I would progress hip flexion. Okay. Quadruped. What does quadruped mean? It means on all fours. Quad means what? The quad. 4. Quad, quadruped. Okay. So quadruped, alternate reach and hip extension. So the first one is we'll do the hip extension. This will be the progression. So the progression is forearms down. I'm going to round the back just slightly. And then this is going to prevent us from moving anything. Remember, there's a stable component in motor control, and then there's a movement part, or mobility portion. So from here, forearms down, hands and knees, or forearms and knees. And then I'm just going to extend one hip back, 5-second hold, and then come down. Now, to do this the right way, I need a pad on my opposite foot, or opposite knee. Okay. It's going to give me a little bit of lift. That way I'm not touching the ground here. And it's a hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do it with the hands down. I would say this would be a regression, arms straight, a progression, arms down, because this really doesn't allow you to cheat. We're trying to get you to move through the glute only here, as opposed to like this. You've seen this, right? Right, when people use their lower back, or when they do this kind of stuff, right? So this is what activation and what isolation. What muscle? Glute activation, hip extension. So that's what we're activating in the quadruped, alternate reach and hip extension. So alternate reach would be a progression. This is one arm, one leg out, hold 10 seconds. And then the same thing, alternate arm, alternate leg, straight arm, hold. You can make it dynamic, okay, or you can make it isometric. So you could do 5 reps on each side, real controlled, or you could hold 10 seconds in that lengthened position, okay? This is gonna test motor control of anti-rotation ability. So if I tend to rotate here, I'm kind of lacking motor control in the core here. So if you see someone does this and they're very unstable, or if they do this and it's just very shaky, it means they're lacking motor control in the core. Okay, so that'd be a good core stability exercise for them. Okay, bear variations, kind of goes straight into bear variation. So bear is basically getting in the cat position, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, toes behind the knees. All I'm gonna do here is round my upper back. So I don't want to be retracted scaps, I want protracted scaps. So I just say turtle shell, upper back. And then all I'm gonna do here is activate the core by bringing the knees off the ground. So this is just a motor control exercise for the core. Okay, now if I want to add an anti-rotation component to the bear hold, I can either reach forward or tap my opposite shoulder. So when I do that, what happens when I tap my shoulder, my body wants to rotate. It wants to go like this, right? You've seen people do these, right? Shoulder taps. What are they doing wrong here? Rotating. It's supposed to be an anti-rotational exercise, but people do the opposite. So if you're training rotation, that's fine, but if you're training core stability, it's just a different exercise. So For example, I'm trying not to rotate. Okay? As opposed to making it easy. Same thing here. I can, and again, big exhale because that's going to ignite the core musculature. I don't want to be like, okay? When I do that, it really engages the core. So I could do same thing with a forearm plank, reach, just like that. So the bear hold, you might hold 10-second holds, and then you might do 3 shoulder taps on each side. So either a 10-second bear hold or a bear hold with shoulder tap for 3 taps each side. And then you can progress that to push-up hold, push-up tap, and then you can also do, make it even harder, alternating hold, both sides. So that'd be the major progression. Clamshell, we did this in our last class, I think. So basically you find a line, I get my elbow, hip, knee, straight line from knee to shoulder. That's the clamshell here. From here, I push into the ground so my obliques on the bottom side have to activate, and my QL has to activate on my lower back. QL is responsible for lateral flexion. So it's got to isometrically contract in order to stay here. This is anti-lateral flexion. So from here, it's a short lever clamshell, and I can activate it by opening up the top hip, or I can extend the knee and hold. Make sure that this shoulder here is back. Sometimes people end up going like this. So you gotta be just like that. So the clamshell can be a clamshell hold with the knee high, top knee high. So knees away from each other, hold, 5 to 10 seconds for 3 reps. You can make it dynamic and open and close the clamshell for 3 to 5 reps, or you can hold the extended clamshell for 5 seconds for 3 reps on each side. So again, clamshell hold with knee up. What am I activating in this one beside core? What's the main muscle that's driving my knee into the ground? That's getting highly activated.
Vastus lateralis.
Vastus lateralis is responsible for extending the knee. It's my glute. What one? Glute medius. What's your glute med do? Abduct. What am I doing on the bottom here? I'm abduct. See, I'm pushing away. In order to do that and hold it isometrically, I have to engage that glute med. The glute max will help. Glute max will always help the glute med. Remember that. The glute med and all your small muscles don't work in isolation. So your lats are going to take over for your rhomboids. Your pecs are going to take over for your triceps, that type of thing, right? There's your clamshell. Crawling patterns. So bear position for crawling patterns to start. So start in bear. Then from here, you're going to move your right arm forward and your left knee toward your left elbow. Then from here, you're going to move your left arm forward to match your right hand and move your right knee to your right elbow. Okay? You want to do this with a neutral spine. Okay, so that's a bear crawl. You do that forward, you can go side to side. So lateral bear crawl or a push-up lateral crawl. So you could go like this. Okay, or you can do crossover. I'm gonna sweat a little, that's okay. Okay, then you can make that a push-up version. So lateral bear crawl, forward and backward bear crawl. Now you have your band series for your upper, lower. So, let's see if I can, maybe I'll just use this. See if this works. All right, let's see if this works. Oh, it's not gonna work. All right, so the band series, I like the circular bands. That's what I was hoping I'd have, but I need a really thin one. Okay, I got one. All right, so you can activate different ways. So band series, upper, lower, pull aparts, lateral shuffle, and then hip ER and squat. So band pull aparts, palms face up, hold the band, squeeze it, hands in front of the elbows. From here, we're just gonna pull the band apart and make a T. So hands go in toward the midline, arms go out, make a T. So what am I activating here? Shoulders, deltoid, rear deltoids, and rhomboids. Okay? So band pull apart. You can also do the diagonal pull apart. You don't have to do these standing. You can do them kneeling or half kneeling. Okay? If you want to get them a little bit of mobility lower body, upper body activation, you can do diagonal pull apart. Right arm over the right shoulder, left arm, left pocket, 5 to 10 reps. Sorry, 10 reps for the band pull aparts, and then the diagonals would be 5 on each side. And you would just do 1 round. So this isn't 2 to 3 rounds. I would only do this 5 to 10 reps. So this is a diagonal version, and this is the horizontal version. Okay. Lateral shuffle. So you can challenge the glute medius and glutes in general by going around the knees here and doing lateral banded shuffles. Okay. You're in the ready position, knees slightly bent, look straight ahead. You're gonna shuffle 5 to 10 steps one way and then 5 to 10 steps the other way. You can go around your knees, or you can also do ankles. What's harder? Ankles, okay? So you might want to start knees and then ankles. So that's the lateral shuffle, hip ER and IR. So in this squat position, I can go internal to external, one at a time. This focus on hip mobility, I can do 1 at a time for 5 to 10 reps, and then both at a time. Okay, so that's just activating your rotators and your hips. And then you can perform squats with the bands around the knees, because what we're doing here is we're activating the glute medius by pushing into the bands and preventing knee valgus. So we're actively engaging those glutes and medius when we put the band around. Okay? So that would be the band series. Active warm up and then ladders. These will probably be a little bit quicker. So knee to chest, standing, feet under the hips. You're gonna look forward. Active warm up now. Now we're done with our motor control. Now we're doing locomotor skills, and that's gonna lead into plyometric, med ball, ladder drills, agility and power exercises. Now we're starting to do more athletic things. So knee to chest, still a progressive manner, okay? So knee to chest, feet under the hips, look straight ahead. Can you wiggle the mouse, Ken? So feet Oh, sorry. Alright, so feet under the hips. You're going to pull the knee to the chest, and you're going to point the bottom toe. You're going to look straight ahead. Do not crunch the upper body. So pull the knee to the chest. It's not chest to knee, it's knee to chest. And then you're going to step forward. Notice that my bottom foot is in plantar flexion. I'm also in hip extension here. So hip extension, hip flexion, opposite. Okay, so this is a dynamic stretch for what? Dynamic stretch for hip flexor on the opposite side. Okay, major hip extension here. So hip flexor stretch. Also glute stretch on the top leg. Glute and hip flexor stretch. Okay, it's activating your calf or your gastroc because I'm pointing that toe. Okay, a little bit of stretch and activation. Leg cradle. Feet are under the hips. You're going to step, raise one leg, reach for the outside of the ankle. This is important. Outside the ankle with the opposite hand. Ipsilateral, same side of hand, is going to grab the outside of the knee, and then you're going to cradle it into the chest. Step, cradle. Step, cradle. Okay, it's going to look just like that. We call it the leg cradle. So what am I stretching here? What does this look like? What is this pose?
Pigeon.
Pigeon. What am I doing here? Pigeon. So it's the same stretch, but it's a dynamic.
So just like a standing
So it's a standing pigeon, or we call it the leg cradle. Dynamic pigeon if you want. Okay? This is heel to glute with reach, or you can call it quad and reach. So feet under the shoulders, our feet under hips, look straight ahead, reach for same side of hand, reaching for the same side of foot. Gonna hinge and reach forward. Step into the next. Okay? So that's the quad and reach. So quad. So what are we stretching here? Hamstring and quad. Quad back here, hamstring bottom. Dynamic hamstring and quad. Okay, now we've done some where we're holding on to things. Now we're letting go. We do march, then skip. We do march first because march leads to skip. So march, feet are under the shoulders, elbows 90 or less. You can make a fist like you're holding on to a chip but not breaking it. You want those knees to go up as high as the hips. Toes up. This leads into our skip. Our skip is a one-legged hop in a marching position. March. It's a step and a hop. It's a step and then march with the opposite. When you march with the opposite, make sure the opposite arm is doing the same thing as that leg. That's your skip. March turns into skip. You can do lateral skip as a progression. So if I'm moving to my right, start with the march. I'm going to push off my left to move right. And then when I move to the right or left, I'm pushing off the right. Okay? I like butt kickers after, because skip is actually a very intense exercise. So butt kickers are going to help loosen. So you can do stepping butt kicker or running butt kicker. You want the heels touch the glutes. You do that as quick as you can. Each of these about 10 yards or about 5 to 10 seconds max each. So it's not 20 seconds, it's not 30 seconds. This is what a leg cradle would look like if I was going to do it in a dynamic warm-up. I might have 4 awesome reps and that might be it. Someone's learning it, might be 6 to 10, you know, but once you learn these patterns, you should just be able to hit really good, high quality, low reps. So, high knee run. So this is probably the most intense of all of these, okay? High knee run is a very vigorous exercise, okay? So it's just trying to get those knees up as high as you can as you're running forward. Okay, so it's only about 4 to 5 seconds. So this is how it would look if I was doing running high knees with a group. 10 to 20 yards and then turn around. That's it. Real quick, big burst of speed. Get ready for your next one. Next one is backward single leg reach. It's gonna reach forward, single leg reach, step back. So challenging balance and coordination. So it's a single leg backward reach, or backward single leg reach. It's basically a single leg reach while moving backwards. Lateral skip I already showed you, karaoke and side shuffle. So like if you don't have ladders, the active warm up is all you need to do. If you do have ladders, you can switch out the active warm up for your ladders, is what I'm trying to say. So you can do either or if you want. Karaoke is 1 foot behind and then switch while you're moving your hips, rotating your hips and your arms opposite direction. So if your hips are going right, your arms are going left. Okay? That's your karaoke. Okay? That one's a little bit tougher to teach. Side shuffle. So that's just basically going side shuffle, feet forward, side back. And that you can probably do 2 to 4 times. Okay? So feet are away from where side to your target. So if you're going to the left, side to target, and then your feet are facing perpendicular to where you're sliding to. Okay? Ladders will be the last one. These are kind of your athletes or even general older population are gonna like your ladder drills. This is gonna develop speed, coordination, balance, agility, and it might be just enough power for adults that are looking to get a little bit faster and quicker, because one, you can time them through it, and it's low impact enough for older people that they feel safe doing this compared to, say, something like Olympic lifting, which they might not ever want to do. Like med ball work is really good for older adults. I might not be doing single leg hops and jumps, okay? So in, out, out, basically step behind the ladder at the start. You're gonna step in the ladder, step out, and move forward as you step in and out, trying not to what? Touch the ladder itself. So if you were timing someone, see how fast they can do it once, and see how many penalties or times they hit the ladder. So you might say, all right, you did it in 20 seconds, and you hit the ladder 3 times. See if you can do it in 18 seconds and hit the ladder twice instead of 3 times. You know, that's how we progress that. Just trying to go faster or less mistakes. Lateral in, out, out. So same thing. So in, out, out, while moving sideways. What do we want to make sure? That if we go left, we go right. Yep. Don't forget to go the other way. So if you're having someone go through this and someone's right next to you going behind you, they either have to wait, so you either have to do your going to your left and then go around and then move to your right, or you have to allow someone to go back and forth. So if you don't want to interrupt the flow, have them all go to the left and then to the right. Scissors. There's linear and lateral scissors. So scissors is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Switch. And then switch while you're moving forward. So scissors is just 1 foot in, 1 foot out. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Left foot in, left foot out. And then right foot in, left foot out. Okay, that's linear scissors. Lateral scissors, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You go 1 square at a time. Okay, or you could do 2, so both feet have to touch. That's more steps, more work if you do it that way. You could skip it. So you could go skip, okay? Different way to scissors. Cross behind, cross in front. Probably want to teach cross in front first, cross behind a lot harder. So, cross in front, you're at the side of the front of the agility ladder. You're going to step across with the outside leg into the ladder. Then you're going to step the leg that's behind you outside, and then step out and then restart. Okay? So again, step to the side of the ladder, cross the outside leg into the ladder, and then step completely out. And then the same thing. Okay? Step in front. Step behind is a lot harder. Step next to the ladder. Step the outside leg behind the front leg into the ladder. Step out. Okay? So that's the step behind. Hip switch. It's like the scissors, but their hips are going to rotate. Okay? You can do that sideways too. Just like that. Hip switch. 1 in, 1 out stomp. Okay? Stomp, stomp. Okay? Starting on the outside of the ladder. Shuffle, step in, step out. Step in, step out. Step in, step out. Shuffle. And then you'll switch sides. So after the left foot steps in, you do right foot. That's all I got. Anybody want to try any of these? All right, how about this? Next 5 minutes, try 1 exercise with a partner that you learned today. At least 1, okay? Choose anyone that you want. Groups of 2 or 3. Who doesn't have a group member? Ashley, Eddie? Try any you want. Go over any ones that you want with me. I should have just had you all do that.